Avowed has been out officially for 1 year. It was one of my most anticipated games of 2025, but the internet hated it. Between the Veilguard comparisons and the launch controversy, I stayed away. But now, I'm craving some fantasy to lose myself in, and after a year of patches and promises from Obsidian, I'm finally diving in. Is the hate unjustified? Did they fix the bugs in performance, or was the internet right to let this one die? Join me and let's find out. The game starts with a debrief of our character's purpose. We're an Adiran envoy from the Emperor, whom is being sent to the Living Lands to investigate the Dream Scourge. Basically that parasitic fungus thing that you saw sprouting from ants on your timelines 5+ years ago. Our character was chosen at birth by a random god to have some higher purpose, and because of this we have some hideous birth defect. You can turn this off, but everyone whom will see you will talk about how ugly you are, so might as well not disable it. For this run I chose Varg from the Bloodsworn trilogy, as his thirst for vengeance seems fun to play with, and I gave him my mustache of course. We are en route to Paradise when we get assaulted at sea, and we are the only survivor. Well, and this weird blue thing.
Welcome.
This is Tutorial Island.
To Jurassic Park.
I get introduced to basically a taste of everything the game has to offer in regards to exploring, the gargantuan amount of lore, and the great combat. As someone coming in completely fresh to the Pillars universe, I have to be honest, this intro has me excited. I know. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's actually hop into the real game. On arrival, we are greeted by the city guard captain and another blue dude. More Shape of Water theme this time though. The Adiran ambassador, whom I'm tasked with delivering a message, is away on a mission with the town's leader. Kai, the blue scaly dude, needs to speak with this town leader, so he joins my party to help seek them out. He's a very soothing, familiar voice.
Better yours than mine.
This is where I need to explain my first issue. It's not an Avowed problem, it's a me problem. I have this thirst to explore open worlds thoroughly. I just love finding moments and secrets and seeing how they affect the world. This was one of my biggest issues with Starfield's lack of that. And I think because of my time with Starfield, I'm ravenous for this feeling, so I procedurally start sweeping the map for things to find and explore. This next hour plus is just pure bliss for me. Every ledge you see goes somewhere and has some form of loot or lore hiding. Every barred or locked door has some collapsed or collapsible wall to jump in and plunder. There are also plenty of POI side quests sprinkled throughout to interact with and complete. I made a goblin and a woman, yeah. I square off with some greedy grave robbers and successfully clear a spider's den. Avowed's open world consists of 4 different provinces split by fast travel, similar to what Obsidian did with the Outer Worlds. These maps are pretty large and host pretty notable differences in biomes, so from an exploration and wonder perspective, Avowed is truly killing it so far. But this isn't Avowed's strongest selling point. Let's get to that now. Around this time we stumble back upon the main quest. There's a Weasley man whimpering in shadows and a giant bear with fungi growths in a clearing. This was a boss fight, and where I want to discuss Avowed's best feature. It's combat. The game gives you 2 loadout options so you can mix and match builds as you please. I want to preface though that I've always disliked magic casting in any game I've ever played, but Avowed's combat feel and fluidity felt so good that for the first time ever, I was heavily favoring the Wanding Grimoire combo. I was Varg, so I obviously had a sea axe and shield pair as well, but the magic in this game actually felt good and I was enthralled by it. The combat has a basic stamina, mana, and health system. Gear and leveling determines stamina depletion, and based on your build, your only mana and health regen come from potions, so positioning and companion abilities are key to success. To reiterate how good it feels, I actually enhanced the difficulty of mobs to enhance the encounters even more. This isn't typical of me to do, but it just felt so good. After a successful boss fight, I meet a stone that talks to me. Odd, but I tell it I will help it out and am blessed with an ability. The Weasley man turns out to be the ambassador, and he wants to meet me in Paradise to discuss the message I was sent with. So I rein in my exploring and start heading that way when I come across how Avowed level gates its open worlds. See, Avowed has a gearing system that utilizes quality of gear as its difficulty metric. You'll notice that there are 4 sections of quality. Well, there just happens to be 4 open world sections. I believe this was a large problem on launch, but Obsidian has since smoothed out gearing so that it isn't as problematic, but it isn't perfect and we'll touch on that later. There are also plenty of unique items in the game that have enchantments that you can enhance to suit whichever build you are pushing. I bring this up because I come across a band of brigands who are geared higher than me, and for the first time, I'm struggling to overcome their power and numbers. The combat AI is also pretty noteworthy because not only does the typical berserkers and rusher melee mobs start factoring in as you progress, but it seems each tier has a notable blockade added. In this case, the main dwarf boss was tough, but with my shield stun abilities, I could stagger him enough to get chip damage in, but I was consistently falling to spear throwers in the distance, who were taking advantage of the fact that I had to focus the dwarf. Later tier upgrades would see healers and summoners, but for now, this blockade was substantial enough that I dedicated quite a bit of time to trying to overcome this fight. That ultimately felt very satisfying once I did. Just as I'm about to reach the city, an ominous cave with a guard teases me in. It seems an expedition has gone AWOL for a few days and they aren't letting anyone in. Being the Emperor's envoy, I get free passage, and inside I meet what Xerxes from 300 must have thought he looked like. This is the Oracle. I have fish gills on my face, and this guy was given this look. Life is not fair. He tells me he hasn't seen the expedition, but that I can come in and look. I would like to acknowledge this man is sus as fuck, and has the equivalent of a mecha Frankenstein just perched behind him. As I push in, I find lots of clues suggesting my alarms on the Oracle were true, and shocker, I find the whole expedition team lying dead in a chamber. Luckily, I did come across the artifact they were seeking out, and I return to the Oracle to confront him and am given a justification that intrigues me. This dude needed souls to power his machine. Very not good, by the way. And then was going to pair it with the god's essence, which was left in the artifact to bring him to the mortal plane and to punish him for his crimes. Now, this is genuinely intriguing to me. These souls seem to be eternally trapped, but we potentially can punish a god, and that is just so interesting that I need to see it through. We turn on his machine, and guess what? Shit doesn't work. He then tells me it needs one more soul, and then I need to hop in. Okay, hold up. What are we saying here? Using my sophisticated skills of speechcraft, I drop the Uno reverse. No you. This critically landed, and he unalives himself. Hooray! Fun fact, it still doesn't work, and conveniently the giant rock voice beckons to put them inside it. Worst case, they get fried too, so I try one more time, and it works, but then it tells me it's going to nap now. So one of the more notable side quests so far has a somewhat lackluster ending, since I'm not really sure what this resolution is. I need to lock back in on the narrative. I do a bit of looting and small quests as I head to the gates of Paradise. We're about to arrive at my first issue with Avowed, but first let's enter the gates. And I die? I'm greeted by the voice in my head at the gates of heaven, and they are pissed that I was killed. She then gives me a one-up mushroom, and we're back. Kai and this healing lady are shaken because I was dead, no more, and I tell them, you gotta try everything once. Okay. What do you mean by that though? They tell me I need to get a clean bill of health before I meet with the ambassador from a mystic called a Watcher, and I'm set free, and as promised, we arrive at my first issue with Avowed. If you know me, the one metric I hold above all else in an RPG is immersion. When the world feels like it has a soul, then the rest of the RPG elements are enhanced by this. The inverse happens if it's devoid of a soul. Paradise is a beautiful city. The layout is great, it's not huge, but the scale and districts convey the different identities of the citizens that inhabit it. What you may notice though is the uninteractable NPCs. A majority don't have any dialogue or even really move from their spot. There are scarce few that move around, but a majority of them give off the NPCs from Pokemon ZA. Basically a mobile filler. To take it a step further, there's no law system in place. So there's no such thing as stealing. So something glows, pick it up. There's no harm. I literally am taking food from people actively eating and taking items from crime scenes. Basically, the most reactivity in the world is the one time I broke a wall and the bartender mentioned it. And the fact your companions have a comment about every single thing.
If you want to run, now's our chance.
My point is the world is detailed and the combat is great, but an inherent lifelessness to the citizens that inhabit the world dampens this experience. This isn't a deal breaker by any means, but it is my first source of dislike for decisions made. I get the all clear from the Watcher and head to meet up with the ambassador. He then tells me I need to solve my own murder, and I'm pointing in the direction of a dwarf whom is some expert tracker. Before I do that, I explore the upper section of the city and am threatened as soon as I step foot in this district. I tell her to piss off, but she warns me her big troll boss won't like that. I am pretty powerful at this point because of my early scouting of the map, so by no means am I intimidated. As I enter deeper in, that said troll is just standing there mocking me. I usually don't go for the aggro option, but I'm feeling a type of way, and I think Farg would as well at this point. Unfortunately, I can't provoke a fight, so we just talk shit the whole time. I come across two more merchants getting the shakedown by these thugs, and I decide to finally step in. This thug, though, seems visibly shook that I'm still alive. My sus alarms go off. I am still heated from the interaction with the troll dude, and the fact that I'm giving the chance to live the anti-hero fantasy of standing up to the evil gang is tempting. This altercation gives me lots of options to potentially get out without any aggro, but I opt for the more satisfying option. They attack me and I destroy them with pure blissful delight. And the bliss does not end there. The cocky troll leader comes charging in, and while Kai is dealing with his henchmen, I solo this dude. Kai tells me that we should scamper off because the whole gang will now have me on their hit list. If I'm keeping to the RP somewhat, Orca and Vark were put in very similar situations in the Bloodsworn trilogy. So I literally eliminate every single gang member in the city. This seems like a lot of time dedicated to this somewhat side event, but the happiness I felt throughout this was one of the peak experiences I had while playing Avowed, and would only be topped by one later experience. I was on a high at this point. I thought, okay, the NPCs are a little reactive, my decisions matter. I thought I would have to explain why I slaughtered not just the big bad thugs of the town, but even the dudes running them Uber Eats. But legitimately, this was never brought up. Ever. And I'm back in an immersion slump, as this seems noteworthy to be mentioned at least once. I meet up with the dwarf tracker who's in a verbal standoff with the most unintimidating dude I've ever seen. He joins the party and agrees to help me solve my mysterious murder. This dude looks like one of those guys who goes so deep into hunting he comes back saying his name is Rising Sun for some reason now. We track down the poison used and who the buyer was and head to the top district of Paradise. This leads us to the church with what looks like a priest inside. I make an offhand joke that she sent people to kill me. She's like, no. And I say, but like, yeah, really. And she just folds. She confesses, then tries to kill me. I don't know who hires for the front door of a super secret base, but I don't think someone who falls for this ploy qualifies. After a lot of rebel deaths later, I come into a room with YG. YG gets an intro animation, so I need to take him seriously. Plus, he's been leaving notes saying how bad of a decision it was to have me killed. Basically, my character embodies everything that is going wrong in the Living Lands, and taking me out was just the gut reaction. It's just the gut wasn't right in this instance. Now, some of you may assume from my mass slaughter earlier that I was going to continue said trend. This was not the case. YG Wolf seems like a tough name to have, plus I've killed like 90% of his workforce just getting in here, so I let him escape with his life. I relay that unfortunately he slipped away to the ambassador, and we are introduced to my number one antagonist, Ludwin. She is the leader of the Steel Garrote, and they seem to be the worst possible people. We have a dick measuring contest, the ambassador has a cringe face cinematic as she leaves, and it's time to head to the Emerald Stair, the next open world section to explore, and with it comes the biggest drag in my playthrough yet. We enter the Emerald Stair, and two things become abundantly clear. This overgrown Dreamscourge look is a little less appealing than Dawnshore's, and beyond that, I think I've flexed my exploration muscle a tad too much because I'm dreading exploring every crevice like I did the previous map. This is where I experience a dragging sensation in my playthrough. I am both burnt out from exploring all of the previous province, but also seem a tad overgeared, making one of my favorite aspects of the game, the combat, lackluster. Immediately, we meet a being that looks like a pink gremlin with the voice of Moaning Myrtle. The more off-putting thing is this being is horny as shit. I don't think I've ever been this put off by a character in anything. We do a quick quest for her, and I proceed west towards the city of Fior. En route, I come across literal zombies being forced to do farming. This is what they call animancy. The Emerald Stair uses animancy, which is illegal basically everywhere else, to make their dead souls basically nourish the earth for harvesting, but to take it another step further, they also enslave the dead's bodies to do said harvesting. Maybe I'm missing something, but enslaving the dead souls to both work on these farms and invigorate the soil seems a bit fucked up, no? This province's lore, if I have it right, is that it was a green basket to this whole continent, but with the onset of the Dreamscourge, the lands became infertile, which seemed to make them resort to the utilization of animancy to feed themselves and others. This whole province proceeds to gaslight me that this is the right thing to do, but I'm not having it. I do a few side quests when I come across my next murder mystery. The Rangers, whom are basically this province's army, believe that one of their unit is taking out their best Rangers from within. They have two suspects whom they want me to interview. Now I ask you, is it A, the shy sus dude whose answers seem fake, or is it B, the cocky woman? If I'm the quest maker or just making a whodunit, it is never the obvious antsy person, but the cocky asshole who seems to be the wrong choice. I'm locking her. They both give me points of interest to check, but I'm so sure it's her that I focus hers first. But I think I might have a focus ailment because I see a waterfall and must check if there's a secret cave. And look, there is. Wow! I enter said cave and spy on a conversation between two steel garrote soldiers guarding a door. They catch me spying and tell me I should just leave. I tell them I want to know why they're there, and they attack me. I am pleasantly surprised. They are over-leveled, and I'm once again under-geared for this experience. But for the sake of combat feeling challenging again, I take them out. I want to specify that it was them only because deeper in the cave there's many more, and after plenty of attempts, I cannot win. Not only are they over-geared, but the new tactic of this gear level seems to be the addition of healers who fight on the back line. So I had to admit defeat. To sink the blade even deeper, a single band of Zarups with a bear also seem impenetrable. I'm officially weak again. This may seem like a bummer, but the two things causing drag in my playthrough was easy combat and my purpose and goals waning. Both rectified in this instance. So I slink back to the main gates of Fior and enter when the killing blow finally occurs. No, I wasn't killed again, but I am met by what has to be the most beautiful woman I have seen yet. And as I stare longingly into her eyes, I realize what she is. She is Steel Garrote. What is in front of me is a choice. Either join the dark side with this beautiful woman, or I'll have to murk her in the end. Thus begins my Naruto training arc. Fior is a small, quaint city with what seems like a Nepo governor. This dude is being yelled at by a woman about how he won't address Dream Scourge infecting the Emerald Stair, so he does what any top politician does these days and deports her. I tell her to join my crew. This feels like the worst pickup line to use at a bar, but it seems to work somehow. She's researching the Dream Scourge and asked me to get research notes from her colleagues, two of which I basically just ask and are given them. The other tells me to go to the farthest part of this region and get the heart of a tree demon, which basically means level up because based on the circumference on which I was getting my shit kicked in, that's in a bad place. Now it is pure leveling up time. After some extensive mob farming, I stumble upon a troll that I curb stomp after eating every buff food possible. Turns out this troll murdered one of the rangers on the murder mystery quest, and his notebook suggests he was on the trail of said bad ranger before it went cold, and well, he's dead now. I feel like I've truly ascended now with my upgraded kit, so it's time to head back to that waterfall cave for redemption. I mentioned earlier that there was one more feeling in the playthrough that would top the thug slaughter in Paradise. It was this. I went in there and annihilated all of them. I was Rock Lee showing up for the Gaara fight and dropping all of his leg weights. I was on cloud 9. It turns out Ludwig left a lot of detailed letters conveniently around about her desires to invade Fior and take it for themselves. So to spite her, I tell the powers that be to prepare. Eventually I catch the trail of the ranger killer and I track them to a camp. You didn't see that. Pat yourselves on the back if you chose option B, because it turns out it was the cocky girl. And if you're really paying attention, you may notice that she is by a waterfall. It seems this ranger was betraying the Emerald Stair for an incoming attack by the Steel Garrote. She was facilitating everything to get on their good side. Anyone whom got in the way were taken care of. She seems to think I'm on her side, but I just laugh at her and mention that I slaughtered all of the Steel Garrote in that cave. In her fury, she attacks me, and well, I just took out this whole cave of them. What is this low-level ranger gonna do? I've hit near peak power in this region, so it is time to get that tree heart. Many, and I mean many, of these tree beings die as I push deeper into this tree fortress, thinking I'm on the verge of a huge boss fight, but turns out the tree lady isn't hostile. This is now the second time that I've wiped out someone's entire crew to then receive a pleasant introduction. She does acknowledge it at least. Mid-convo, she tweets out that I killed so many, but I dropped the classic, "War never changes." And she just okay with it now. I'm given the heart free of charge and walk out a free man. And somewhere between slaughtering half this forest, clowning on a traitor ranger, and prepping Fior for an invasion, Avowed has won me back, just in time for my choices to come to fruition. At the 36-hour mark, I'm thriving once again. After dropping off the heart, Giada directs us to a temple of a god of death to delve deeper into the source of the Dream Scourge. A secret door opens up and we've unlocked another secret dungeon. Loads of monsters later and I'm doing my best avatar mating ritual with a magic rock. Throughout this whole playthrough, the god who marked us on birth was unknown. Surprise, surprise, we discover the voice in our head is said god, a seemingly unknown god who seems to be trapped, and she asks for our help. At this point, we've done so much for this unknown voice, so it seems a little silly to say no now. As we wrap the conversation, she tells me of a great battle occurring and rushes me out. We rush out of the temple, and somehow, Fior still got attacked. I had done all of these things to set them up for success, but they're still under attack. I'm enraged. I rush down to stop the assault, but besides a few straggling grunts from the garrote, the attack is over, and the leader of the assault is captured just outside of Fior. I was wrong. Everything I had done prior assisted in thwarting this. The town was bolstered with strength, and the reinforcements with the supplies were slaughtered by my hand in the cave. It's been 30 plus hours, and this is the first indication that my choices have an effect on this world. This is something I've been struggling with this playthrough and still am not certain about as I write this. There has been a lot of situations where I've cast a ripple. I don't know if these ripples will actually affect the world in any way. I can't stop thinking about the mecha body I gave to the goddess. That has to have some sort of large impact, right? But it seems in at least this instance my choices have changed the outcome in this world. As I head to the border to further pursue the main quest and end my playthrough, for the time being, the book ending of all book endings occurs. The beautiful steel garrote woman meets me at the gate. She tells me how unhappy Ludwin is with my decisions, and to just be an ass, she mentions that she decimated the Rangers camp on her way here. Hot rage starts coming up as she mentions that she hopes in the future that I won't make such a rash decision that goes against the endearing goals that they share. This is where a smart man would be diplomatic and get insider knowledge by feigning friendship, then backstab on the inner circle. Unfortunately, I'm playing as Varg No Sense, so I proceed to take on this horde of more steel garrote soldiers and win. It's a very sad day for a beautiful red-headed woman everywhere. We head into the next area, a hot, arid desert, and this is where we stop and talk about Avowed. I have officially spent 36 hours engrossed in this world. A reminder, the purpose was to see, after a year of holding out, is Avowed as bad as I have heard? And the simple answer is no. In total, I had an excellent time. But this wasn't all high, so let's quickly go over what was great, what was good, and some of the hiccups. I think without a doubt, the combat is the highlight. The game has so many options of builds to suit whichever style you want to tackle the game with, and you can easily mix and match as re-rolling skills and attributes is a small gold cost. I think this game has huge potential for replay value just to try a different style and weapon set. I feel like I may be one of a few who really like the Outer Worlds, and this game handles the open world in a similar way, where you get open environments as nodes that you can fast travel between. These aren't huge maps, but they are still quite big and packed full of loot and secrets to find. I'm not a huge fan of reading lore in games as that fleshes out the world and not necessarily the narrative in front, but the very cool conversation controls kept me quite informed as someone brand new to this universe. I stopped reading most books and notes in the Emerald Stair to be more time efficient, but the lore was captivating. I mentioned Dragon Age the Veilguard in the beginning because that game made quite a stink on its release regarding its companions, art style, dialogue, and perceived wokeness. I think that game's extremely poor reception from audiences 100% bled into this game. I don't know how to classify this art style. It's like a slight step back from visual realism with a mixture of like a Disney paintbrush. It gives them a very similar visual style. And them being heavy fantasy-based RPGs from acclaimed studios that have fallen off kind of ties this knot, especially with the releases only being a few months apart. I liked a lot of the side quests that I was doing, but a lot of the interactions felt meaningless, and maybe that's because I didn't finish the full campaign for this deep dive, but I just don't know how reactive this world actually is. From a literal point, I can't interact with the majority of the NPCs. They're mostly just nameless filler. I found it odd in Starfield that I could just steal Crimson Fleet's loot in front of them, but in Avowed's case, this whole game is free-for-all on loot. I literally was stealing stuff from crime scenes or taking all the food in front of people actively eating. I get that they might not have wanted a crime system because it might not have been the type of game that they were going for, but without it, the game's world doesn't feel necessarily alive, which is something I value highly in an RPG. Once again, it's not a deal breaker by any means, it's just a factor to the world that I need to take note of. I found the gearing and quality system quite fun when it works and kind of repetitive when it doesn't. Now for me, it worked like 80% of the time, but when I was officially on par with the highest quality of gear in that biome, the fun of combat just plummeted. Near the end of Dawnshore and the beginning of Emerald Stair was quite boring due to this, but as soon as new quality tiers were present, I was having the best time once again. I have to note the inventory system, crafting, and enchanting felt amazing. I know a lot of this got quality of life updates since launch, so what I experienced for the first time felt pretty good. I think in the end, I really enjoyed myself. This isn't going to blow your socks off with its dialogue or story, but I found some of these elements somewhat interesting if you care for the lore at all. I think a lot of the hate for this game is probably unjustified. I don't think this game is for everyone, but it's a game you can hop into and just turn your brain off and explore, fight, and push the story as you see fit. In reality, I think its biggest crime is not really doing anything exceptional to push the genre forward at all. This felt like a new age version of a classic RPG coming out in like the 2012 to 2015 era, but with a shiny gloss on it. Sometimes you just want to play something familiar with modern graphics. that's what Avowed is. But it just doesn't push any systems in the genre forward really for it to come off as noteworthy, and that has to be its biggest problem. I think if you want a classic RPG in this style, Avowed, especially if you can get it on sale, is a great pickup. It's at that point in the video that I'd just like to say that I'm a small channel trying to make videos that I love to make, and a simple like goes a very long way. Check out my last video where I similarly take a dive back into Starfield to see if it has made any noteworthy changes since launch to address its problems, or subscribe for my next video that will drop 2 weeks from now. I'm returning to one of my favorite games of last year, Kingdom Come: Deliverance 2. I've been waiting for an opening to revisit the pinnacle of immersive RPG worlds, but in its hardcore setting to really drop me in the thick of it. Before I let you go, please let me know if you'd like this format. I'm constantly trying to better these videos, so any and all feedback is appreciated. Until next time, my name is EasyBreak. Toodaloo.